What's up, my electricians? Ruben here, aka the Young Electrician, and this is going to be a video for the first year apprentices. Give you a couple of pieces of advice. And I remember when I was in my first year, you know how you're feeling, a little nervous. You know, a lot of things are new to you, a lot of new sights, sounds, experiences, and it can be a little nerve-wracking. Starting off, you're on a construction site, you're working with a bunch of grown men. You're probably 18, 19, 20 years old. So here's a little bit of advice. Point number one, you need to know that no one is expecting you to know much. Nobody is expecting you to do much. No one's expecting you to carry a bunch of weight. You're not the guy that they rely on. Just know that. I know a lot of times as first year electricians, second year electricians, we could feel really intimidated, really nervous because we're not that quick. We look at other people working and we're like, wow, like this guy's fast, this guy's efficient, this guy knows stuff. How the heck am I ever going to get to that level? How am I going to keep my job when, you know, I suck at my task and these guys are just knocking it out of the park? You just got to know that nobody's expecting you to knock it out of the park. And that's okay. It's fine. I remember my first, second year, I used to work with this guy, and I swear, not even joking, every single day after work, when we're walking to our cars, this guy would tell me, man, Ruben, I know it, I think I'm going to get laid off. And I'm starting laughing, I'm like, why? And he's like, I'm not that fast, and they keep giving me tasks to do it. I'm not like, I'm not able to do it like the other guys. And I'm like, bro, you're in like your first or second year. No one's expecting you to. Like there's not much we could do to get fired right now. Like we literally have to really screw up to get fired because nobody's expecting much from us. And it's funny because literally, without a doubt, for months, every single day after work, that guy was just nervous. So I don't want you guys to be in that position. I don't want you guys to be nervous. Just know that there's not much you can do to get fired. For one reason is that no one's expecting you to know much. No one's expecting you to pull a lot of weight. Your whole purpose is to learn. That's it. And second reason, you are not getting paid that much. So trust me, if the company is looking to lay somebody off, it's not going to be the first year guy getting, the lowest amount of money. So rest assured, breathe. You're in your first year. All right. Point number two. Your whole purpose is to learn. Don't focus on your inabilities. Focus on trying to learn and glean from other electricians around you. Watch and imitate what they do. I remember in my first year, I was, working, running some wires in some hallways, running some Romex. And I remember there was a guy there who was also doing the same thing. He was journeyman level, wasn't certified, probably like 4th, 5th, 6th year, something like that. And this guy, he's a pretty good worker. He's working on the other side of the hallway around the corner doing the same thing. And I remember I seen him stop and he looked at me struggling. I was struggling. And he just walked away. Didn't help me out at all. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes, somebody doesn't really care to take the time to give you any advice. So I walked over and I just started watching him work. About 10 minutes, just watching him. And I seen how he did it. And then I went back and I started doing that. And that really helped me out because I started to kick butt. I started to get recognition. And I would do that a lot in my first year. And that helped me progress. That helped me progress to the point where one time, I was on a prevailing wage job, and I was an ET at the time, so I was getting paid like a journeyman. The perks of being an ET. And this guy wanted to keep me on because, for certain journeymen, they might be good workers, but they don't listen well sometimes, and it's really hard to get them to, fall in line with the desires of the foreman. And at this company, none of the journeymen were really pillars trying to help build the company. So the guy didn't want a lot of them there, and he wanted somebody that was going to be a good worker, somebody that was going to be teachable, somebody that was going to be, a good hand. And I was doing that. We're knocking out of the park. I might not have been as qualified or as quick as a journeyman, but I was efficient, I was teachable, and I did learn quick. So you have to observe how other people work, and you have to do that. So your one job right now is to learn, to imitate the journeymen around you, or the people that are qualified workers around you, and just do what they do. If you do that, you are going to excel very quickly as a first-year apprentice. All right, point number 3. You have to take safety into your own hands. I know your boss has to make sure things are safe for you guys. The GC, the general contractors, they have to make sure the job site is safe. And yes, it's your higher up's responsibility to try and keep the job site as safe as possible. But ultimately, it is your job to keep you safe. Nobody else's responsibility ultimately except yours. If you get hurt, they're going to go on living their lives, and you're going to be hurt. Might be their fault, but it's going to affect you, not them, ultimately. So you have to keep your safety in your own hands. I'll tell you a story. First time I ever got zapped at work, it was because of a journeyman worker. Ultimately my fault, but it was a journeyman worker's fault. Also, we were working on live power, so it was my first or second year. So you could tell what kind of journeyman I was working with. He had me working on live power. We're installing these exit signs. If you know anything about exit signs, they come with 2 sets of power, one for 120 and I believe one for 277. If that's wrong, then somebody correct me in the comment section. And you have to prefab them. You have to get it set up to install, and you have to cap off whatever power you're not using. And I was capping them off, prefabbing them, installing them. Never been shocked before. I'm very cautious. I always work on stuff like it's live. And he prefabs one, and I go to install it, and as I install it, I get zapped. And I'm on a ladder. Second story, little walkway. I mean, I could have fell off my ladder if I wasn't prepared. I could have, fell off the balcony. I could have hit my head. I could have really injured myself. Luckily I didn't, by God's good grace. And I made fun of my journeyman for that, because he's supposed to be a journeyman level worker, a certified guy, and my first time getting zapped is because of him. And so I got to make fun of him for it, as you should do. Always make fun of your coworkers when you're able to. It's a good rule of thumb. And it was my first time getting zapped, but ultimately it was my fault, because I should not have trusted him with my safety. We're working on live power, and we're doing an install, we're trimming out. I should have been hyper cautious, as I am now. And when I was installing it, I should not have trusted him and how he prefabbed to keep me safe. I should have examined what he put together and made sure it was safe, and then safely installed it. So ultimately that was my fault. So be cautious. And another safety story I'll share with you, just because it's an interesting story. The time I almost died as an electrician. So what happened was, I was working by myself, closing out this job site, just adding different things that got missed, different things that were on back order. And I was about, I don't know, it had to be like a 14-foot ceiling. I was on a 12-foot ladder, and I was working in a little a whole access panel, installing some lights. And I didn't notice this, but the ladder that I was standing on was kind of bowing to the right. It was bowing just a little bit. It wasn't a lot, but enough to where I really didn't notice it. And so I climb up this ladder. I'm installing this light. I'm working on it. I strapped the driver down inside of it, which possibly saved my life, or saved my body for sure. And as I'm working on it, I guess I pushed it towards the right, just enough. And I felt this thing just start to move to the right and then kick out from underneath me. And as it started moving, I thought to myself, oh, this is going to be bad. I felt that, heart rate start pumping, thinking, what the heck am I going to do? I grab onto the MC coming off of the lights driver, and luckily this thing was strapped down inside of there, and that that ladder just kicks out from underneath me, and I start to go down. With one hand, I'm holding the driver. With the other hand, I try to grab the ceiling, which the access panel, which can be pretty sharp if you hit that thing quick enough. And I was about to fall down to like maybe towards my left side because the angle that it was kicked out from. But by God's good grace, thank you, Jesus, holding that light kind of jerked me and helped me to straighten out. And I fell straight down, landed on my feet, and I just stood there, shocked, for a few seconds. My hand was bleeding a little bit, cut myself, heart rate pumping, and for the next 45 minutes, I just walked around enjoying life. Didn't do any work. I was just grateful. Let the heart rate go down. Stood there, I drank my coffee, thanking Jesus, looking at my finger, looking at this dumb ladder. And I called my boss, let him know what happened. And yeah, I looked at that ladder, very upset. But ultimately, that was my fault. I've learned from previous companies how to inspect a ladder to make sure that it was safe. I should have inspected that ladder. But that was a time where I was kind of just going to work, doing my job, not really trying to progress, not really trying to do anything. I knew I was a good worker. I knew that my good work performance would carry me through a company, even if I wasn't trying to move up. So my head wasn't in the game, and that's a dangerous place. When people's head's not in the game, it's a very dangerous place to be. So I should have been examining that ladder. I should have been doing my due diligence, and I wasn't, and it almost cost me my life. So be safe on job sites. Your safety is in your hands. I'm going to give you a bonus tip. I said there were going to be 3 tips, but here's a bonus 1. Tip 4. What was tip 4? Oh, no matter what, always act like the wires that you are working on or the devices or lights that you're working on is hot. Because guys get into the habit of working on things when they're not hot, and you could just cut all the wires at once, or you could just not really respect it, and it's fine. There's no electricity. It's whatever. You can do whatever you want. You're not going to get shocked. But what that does is that builds a habit inside you. So when you do work on stuff that's live and you're supposed to be cautious, you're not really thinking about that because you trained yourself. A lot of times our mind goes on autopilot without us knowing it, and we just start to kind of act out of instinct. And if you get used to working on things hot, if you're just like, okay, everything I'm working on, I'm going to pretend like it's hot. I'm going to pretend like this thing is live. I'm never cutting my hot, neutral, and ground together. I'm not going to be an idiot. I have a story about that too, but I'll share that another time. I turned my linemen into, a pair of strippers, popped a hole in them with the, live wire. Then I cut a piece of Romex. But if you always treat it like it's hot, like if I work on a box and it's hot, I have no problem. I never short a circuit. I'm never getting shocked. Not that it wouldn't happen. Things happen. Sometimes you can't control things. But I'm very cautious. I treat all wires like they're live so that when they are live, I know that I don't have to worry. I don't have to think, oh, is this live? Is this not live? Of course, I check it with my tick tester, see if it has power or not. But I also treat it like it's live, because that's my life and my safety. I have to keep that in my hands. So, all right, those are going to be the tips for today, guys. Like, subscribe, and if you are in your first year, second year, let me know one of the things on the job site, one of the pieces of advice on the job site that you've got so far that has really helped you out. Share it in the comment section below. If we could get some of those things going, then we could all help each other out. We could all give each other tips, hints, pieces of advice to grow in our trade. So yeah, slap that in the comment section below. Let me know what piece of advice you've got that you really appreciate. And like, subscribe. And if you like this video, I got another video in 3 quick tips for every apprentice. Go and watch that video. I'll link it in the description below. And until next time, peace.